Hello, everyone. Namaste to all the new listeners and to all my amazing viewers who have always been so kind to me and have always been showering love, affection, and your kind thoughts and keeping me in your thoughts always. So, thank you so much. Today, it's a very beautiful Wednesday, sunny day for us in Jakarta. And welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of our literary journey on the airways. Today we are diving deep into a story that weaves the beautiful complexities of familial ties and societal norms into a rich tapestry of emotions, discovery, childhood traumas, the complicated relationships within our families. And I have just currently stopped reading this book. I've just currently finished reading this book, called Letters to My Mother by a remarkable author who's going to join with us very, very shortly, Vikkas Arun Pareek. Letters to My Mother is a beautiful story that weaves a cultural tapestry of sorts and the different dynamics that work across in a family, the relationship that transcends from mother to daughter to the different dynamics they share with the grandmothers and the other distant relatives in the families, and how it all translates back in different kinds of transitions, in different kinds of narratives, in different kinds of setups and backgrounds. It's all beautiful. It's all splendidly coming across. Everything is being stitched together through letters. And as we go back in time, as we revisit the vintage old school charm of the letters, I would like to introduce Vikkas Arun Pareek, one of the remarkable voices in contemporary drama and children's literature. He'll be joining us shortly from the streets of London. But Vikkas is originally from the colorful city of Jaipur, Rajasthan. He hails from India, and currently he's working in an IT department in an acclaimed international bank. So he has successfully tried to create a unique niche for himself in the literary world, where he tries to balance between both the worlds of creative endeavors and the numbers, and he's whipping up magic. Honestly, people, you really need to get your hands on some of his books. One of his other drama books for children, The Adventures of a Blue Flamingo, a beloved children's series, has found its way into the hearts of young readers everywhere, and it's also present across 50 school libraries and government schools across Rajasthan. So I'm pretty sure about his storytelling skills, and I can definitely assure you that he will definitely not disappoint you because of his rich cultural storytelling skills, and the moral storytelling skills will definitely grapple you. So today we are especially thrilled to delve into this drama novel, Letters to My Mother, and I'm soon going to invite author Vikkas Arun Pareek on our episode. In the meanwhile, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you guys would have had a great supper. And tell me how you're feeling. How is it? How are you doing? Hi, Vikas. How are you doing? Can you see me?
Hi, Ambika. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing great.
Finally,
Thank you so
finally,
much.
we were able to connect.
Yes, there were so many ifs and buts, and a lot of trials and tribulations happened
Yes.
in our Insta life, but it's all worth it. Okay, so
Yes.
Vikas, as I was narrating a little bit about you, a little bit about the book that I've recently been hooked into, first of all, many congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
I, being a daughter and a mother, could certainly resonate with so many letters, with so many narratives that you have beautifully penned down, that you have soulfully articulated in your book. But one of those things that often comes into my mind is what really inspired you, what really compelled you to write something so poignant, to write something so thought provoking, to write something about the complicated patterns and complicated tapestry of familial ties and the societal norms, and challenging the status quo. What was your inspiration behind writing this book?
So first of all, while we were trying to connect on Instagram Live, we were sending requests to each other. I was listening to your kind words, and first of all, thank you for that towards me as well as the book as well. So in I always wanted to write. So I feel that we live a connected life with our parents, with our grandparents. So whatever decisions they make, grandparents, it has a knock-on impact on generations to come. Parents, what they make. I'm a father as well. So whatever
Hmm.
decision I am making today is going to impact my daughter's life as well. So the
Absolutely.
idea was to create a narration, create a story which is generational. It's not isolated to a particular incident. So the idea
Hmm.
was to create a story which is generational, and hence these all three mothers who are writing letters to their respective mothers came into picture. So
Hmm.
that was the idea behind it. And the second thing, as an author, when I start writing, I ask the characters itself, okay, what's where are you going, what's happening with you, what are you thinking, and sort of that organically builds the story and the emotions. I lay out the structure. So I'm an author who sort of starts writing when the plot is finished. Like, so this is when I start writing. But
Hmm.
then in between, I leave spaces. Like between the canvas is completely blank. So I draw the boundaries that this is what I want to do. But then
Hmm.
it's complete blank, and I ask the characters as to what you want to do next.
That's quite fantastic. Now, the letters to my mother, just the title alone, piques the interest of the reader. And letters have this really unique power of transporting you to a old world charm and to this vintage archaic sort of, old school, old love and, all those kind of romantics sort of, pictures come into your mind. This book beautifully explores how, deeply relatable themes and the dynamics within the families exist as well. There's this burden of societal expectations, and then there is personal growth that often comes with navigating these waters and while challenging while facing all these challenges and adversities. So before we jump into the meat of our discussion, could you also share what truly was the hook point for you in the book, like when the letters were being thrown at Meera, and she was not willing to read them over at first stage, at first point. What really compelled you to probably build up a narrative where she would be exploring them later on, and she would probably be amazed to see how the characters are evolving into who they are and what they really turn out to be.
I
What
think
was the hook for you?
I think the hook was that Meera, as you rightly said, so Meera is discovering her maternal family. She is estranged from her mother. She is exploring her maternal family
Yeah.
along with the readers. So
Yeah.
she doesn't know anything about her family, and the reader doesn't know anything about the family. So
Hmm.
they both, when a reader is reading the book, they both are reading the letters at the same time as Meera characters. I guess the hook was because she was estranged from her mother. She had bad experiences, very brief but bad experiences with her mother. So she
Hmm.
was scared. She was scared that she should not become her mother and harm her kid. So that was the main point where she picked the letters after 14 years of being delivered to her after her mother's death,
Correct.
and that triggered the journey. Because when you go back all the way to 1960s 70s, when Janki
Yes.
was born, Shakuntala's reaction was that she didn't wanted a girl child. So
Hmm.
a mother saying that she doesn't want a girl child, sets the pattern in the society. Like, this is how we see girl child. We used to see girl
Absolutely.
child, and that was a trigger then. But then for Meera, it was a trigger that she should not become her mother and harm her own child. So
Absolutely.
that was the hook.
And like you correctly mentioned that there is this hook is really wonderful, that we don't want a girl child, and like you correctly mentioned that this kind of a thought still persists in our society. It's kind of a seed that's just there in the soil of our country, or I don't know elsewhere as well. I don't know about that, but definitely quite a lot rampant in the country, in the subcontinent, in India. So, with letters to my mother, you have also tried to woven these threads into a narrative that tugs into the heartstrings, but also boldly challenges these societal norms, right? So, can you also talk about, how these societal expectations or personal experiences, shape the way the characters are, developing and evolving with the story's themes and characters, and the entire plot basically changes. So, like, where in one of these instances where Meera says that it's easy to judge someone based on their actions, but we don't know what it feels like to be in their shoes.
Yeah.
So, if you can also, help us identify, what exactly you were aiming at, what was the message, and what kind of, emotion you were trying to bring out here.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. Let me divide this in few parts. Uh, so first thing is, when we look at women, or when we perceive women in society, they are looked upon as caregivers, submissive as well. But if you look at Shakuntala's characters, she is actually more patriarchal than the men in the book. So when we have these stereotypes around women, and how we have a space for them in society, that character is actually breaking that. Now, when you look at Meera, she takes her own decisions. She takes her own decision. Of course, Sujit is there to support her,
Yeah.
but she takes her own decision whether she want to pursue those letters, whether she want to look at the letters or not.
Hmm.
And Janki is a rebel child in her own. So in 70s and 80s, she's having adventures which are not easily heard of. So I guess
Hmm.
when we as an author, because we live in a society, we hear what's happening in the country, in the world, and I live in London, but I am very closer to India as well. So we know what's happening, where the society is moving. So subconsciously, these things come in the narrative.
Hmm.
So that is why these characters behave in these ways.
Understood, understood. Yes, I think there's a lot of juxtaposition between, these three generations, among these three generations of women, like you correctly mentioned. While Janki was born, she was an abandoned child. She was not she was unloved, and those emotions really peak when she went into her adulthood, and when she was experiencing puberty at a very sensitive age during the 70s and 80s. She's trying and experimenting her sexuality. She is expanding, and she's like trying to explore and discover the nuances and the interests in drugs, and different kinds of people who she meet, and who she gets trapped into, or whatever. But yes, it basically showcases a transformation of a person, of a character, into different shades of gray, different shades
Yeah.
that are really dark, but at the same time they truly highlight what really goes behind the actions, are probably the circumstances, are probably the background story that we would probably not know about. So yes, that's quite commendable, the way you have written, and the way you have added these shades in just the right manner of sass, and the right manner of literature. I absolutely love that. While we are also, talking about the preference of having sons over daughters, I think this is quite a rampant conversation that we have been having for so long now. I also have a daughter, and when my daughter was born, people did wish me best, and people did give me blessings, but at the same time, they probably were telling me something like, it's okay, you had a boy, you had a girl right now, next time you'll have a boy. So, these kind of comments were actually coming in while we were distributing sweets, while we were, throwing parties, and while we were, inviting them over for our daughter's first birthday. So I was really pissed off. And I think it still exists in our society so much, so that, people definitely do want you to have another baby just because your first baby was a daughter. And it's sad to see this, like, the societal preference for sons over daughters. It's a theme that again you have touched upon beautifully with Janki, and how she turns how she turns into a rebel child for obvious reasons. So I have to ask you, in your view, why does this age-old bias still exist in a modern society where we have tried to, grapple with all things technology, where we are trying to adapt, in this modern outlook, where people are no longer living in joint families. Hey, we are all having our own hooks and nooks at the corners. We no longer depend on, the grandparents so much, so that they're staying with us, or whatever. Like, it's quite an evolved um, landscape altogether. Like, people love to be with themselves. People love to, nurture their small families. They would often catch up with their extended families over the weekend or on special occasions. But hey, that's the truth. Let's admit it. So even then, why do we have such age-old biases? Is what I'm trying to target here.
Yeah, so I think the answer in my mind is very simple. Girls attribute to cost of bringing up. So there's a and cost of marriage, dowry. That's how people used to see girls earlier, because you see in our generation, or at least in my generation, things have changed. So my wife was brought up as well, in a sense that same level of education which was given to a boy and it was given to a girl as well. But earlier it was not like that. Earlier it was that okay, girls will not get education because if they get educated after a certain level, they will not find a suitable partner. So girls in
Hmm.
India, at least one or two generation before, have seen as a cost rather than a child in the house. Growing up cost, as well as, say for example, Shakuntala in the book in 1950s and 60s, she thinks that she will not get the respect now that she has a girl child. She
Yeah.
will not get that love from the
Hmm.
father of the child, her husband, as well as love from the in-laws. She will not have a place in society because she has given birth to a girl. And I think in her and all the people's mind who has girl child and who doesn't want to embrace their girl child is all about cost. They think them as a burden instead of a child. I think you touched upon briefly upon Janki's behavior as well, um, which I want to explore a little bit more. So when Janki was born, one of the theme which I have written in the book, and as you said as well, all the characters are gray, so they are not black and white. So when Shakuntala got married. She lived a certain life. When she got transferred with her husband into army post, she was living a certain life with power. When she came back, she had them in politics. So when you look at someone, we can't say this person is bad or this person is good. There are always shades of gray in humans, in us as well, and hence these shades go in the character as well. So if you look at all the characters, even Meera, Janki, they don't have all white, all like superhero, morally, ethically good characters. They are all shades of gray. One of the other
Hmm.
theme which I have explored, which you touched upon, was parental wounds. So Janki was abandoned by her mother, and that
Hmm.
led to parental wounds. Now, see, when we grow, when we are young, we think that our parents are superheroes, superhuman. They can do anything. But as we grow older, we realize that they are also humans. They have made the same mistakes which I, as a father, is making now. So same,
Absolutely.
Janki has made the same mistakes with Meera. Shakuntala has made same mistakes with Janki. So parental wounds is something which I have now realized that I carry some of that burden as well, and hence my characters.
That's so sweet, and it's quite fascinating to even hear that, because I was actually coming out to that topic where you actually mentioned that Shakuntala had those kind of preconceived notions that her husband won't love her, that her parents won't accept her if she will have a daughter. But it was quite the paradox, right? Her husband really loved Janki,
Yeah.
despite having lesser time. I think it was all made up in her mind. At one
Yeah, of
point in
course.
time, I thought that maybe, she's going crazy. The fact that she's actually losing her shit and she's losing her mind, and she's probably just, developing those. um, imaginary stories in her head, kind of a thing. So I really thought that she was probably going insane because her parents really loved Janki. She was staying with her nana nani's house for a very long time. So that's one piece that I truly felt
Yeah.
during my phase of reading up the book and really absorbing the character.
Yeah. No, this is where we said, right. We believe that there are stereotypes. So women must behave in certain way, men must behave in certain way. So women will without any conscious effort will love their child, and men would probably say, okay, no, you have given me a daughter, I want a son. There are we hear a lot of stories where we hear that okay, in-laws are forcing a girl to have a male heir and all. But here it's a different thing. That's why I said initially that Shakuntala is very patriarchal in her attitude. As soon as she was given powers, she sort of latched to it. She had preconceived
Yes.
notions about having a girl child or a boy child as well. So that's the narrative.
No, that's quite an interesting narrative. And also another thing that you mentioned really caught my eye right now is the fact that how the parental wound, right?
Yeah.
How it all boils down to the fact that we all are imperfect. We all are human beings, and human beings are supposed to be imperfect. We are definitely driven by emotions and not always by logic and rationale, and that's what really makes us humans and not robots. So yes, that's very true that how our actions and how our reactions might have different circumstances, might have different consequences attached to it. But yes, we should never judge a parent. We should never analyze a parent like they say. But at the same time, there's a very interesting conversation between Meera and Sujit that I would like to narrate here. That aren't parents responsible for making or shaping your character? To Meera, when Meera said this, um, um, yeah. So no one forces you after a certain age. Not even your parents force you. But the things you say or you do, your character builds that for you. So these are some of the very encouraging dialogues within the family, and they are really like provoking you into okay, fine, what is happening, and is it really true? Like are parents really responsible for who we are today, or is it us who are making independent choices, who are making more radical decisions, who are independent enough to think about what's good for us, what's bad for us, and we are probably creating our own influences in our life as we grow older, besides our parents
Yeah.
being the key
No,
influences.
I think
So
we all need to realize there is a boundary, there is a threshold where we can blame our parents for the mistakes they have done versus we take accountability of our actions. I think that is the whole. So Janki struggles with this. She even after years and years and years, she blames her mother for abandonment, for not loving her, for not giving that care which a child should deserve. So I believe, and I've done a podcast as well on this. I believe strongly that there has to be a point in one's life where they can go back and say, oh, okay, you didn't love me enough because that's why I am like this. So you didn't take care of me, that's why I am like this. So there has to be a point where people acknowledges and accepts and take accountability of their actions. I don't know when that time is. Is it 18? Is it 21? Is it 25? Is it 40? I don't know. It probably depends upon individual maturity level. But I think there has to be a time where we stop blaming others and take accountability of our actions. And that's what Janki struggles to do. That's what Janki struggles to do because yeah, I mean that's her character. And
And
when
I
we
think we can actually find Jankis in ourselves or in people around us, while they probably blame childhood traumas for a lot of depression that they are in, or for the kind of anxiety, or for the kind of decisions that they are probably taking for their kids. I see Janki in so many people around me.
Yeah. See, I definitely believe that parental wounds play a very big part. And the problem with our society, Indian society, is we don't realize that this is happening. you don't realize that you have a gambling addiction because certain things happened in a childhood, or you have an alcohol abuse situation. For example, Janki wanted to have sexual encounters because of her abandonment. She thought that she's not getting that love, so she is try to find love in other ways. So I think we as a society should be more open about this, and what this is what books does. They sort of, as you said, provoke that thought. Ask these questions to ourselves. Okay, what are we doing? What are other people around us are doing?
Hmm. I think it's very true that it's about passive acceptance, or into active questioning and redefinition of values in the
Yeah.
current realm. And so as we continue, let's delve into the narrative structures that we chose to highlight. So again, I would like to quote a very interesting dialogue between Meera and Sujit while they were reading up the letters. I
Yeah.
really found their dialogues to be even more entertaining. I would actually wait for their conversation at the end of the letter. So in one of those instances where Meera says. That can parents be blamed for what? Okay, Vesujit says, sorry, can the parents be blamed for what becomes of a child? Not entirely. People make their own choices, and the mistakes that they make are their own, says Meera. But don't they color it by what they see of the world or what they understand about, says Sujit. And this really, holds a very special place because it's very true that, both of them are making just the right arguments. It's just that, both of them come from two different schools of thoughts, right? Where one believes in independent decision making, the other one believes in a codependent decision making. So, what do you think, is the right way to analyze and judge our parents?
I think at this age, I think we should just forgive them. Uh, and I think that
Yes.
that's what Janki does towards 1995 onwards, when her father expires and her father passes
Yes.
away. She sort of reconciles with her mother, says, okay, start taking some accountability. I mean, I am a firm believer personally that we should take responsibility of our own actions. But see, cul- seeing the world through our parents' eyes, I think that's absolutely true. I mean, no one sort of feeds us that Pakistan is an enemy, right? No one says that,
Exactly.
right? No one says
Yeah.
that politicians are bad, but these things sort of seeps inside us from a very young age, subconsciously. And why? Because we are bought in that. I mean, this is a very simple example, but uh, taking care of our
That's so
elders,
true.
care of our elders. How do we respond to our extended family? So these are all things which we learn from our parents. If you are in a nuclear family and you have relative at all distant spaces, like we both live out of India, how do we sort of maintain that bridge? So if we don't maintain it as parents, then the kids will not maintain it as well. So I think that those things in relationship also are true. How a parent behaves, and that sort of inculcates in the child.
That's very true, actually. The good and the bad, they both are actually inherited in us, and they are
Yeah.
given to us as gift, as we are
Pro-
nurturing, as we got nurtured.
Probably more bad than good.
Yes, I think as humans, we actually tend to look at the bad people, at the bad deeds more often and more lovingly. And we are trying to embrace more of the sins than, the good deeds. So that's how people
Yeah.
really behave. Uh, but yeah, it's true, how we find ourselves very quick to judge without pausing to consider the battles the other people might be, fighting for. So, Vikas, in your narrative, this theme, which not only builds empathy, but also challenges readers to think more deeply about their own perceptions. How did you craft such a complex emotional dynamics among your characters to effectively highlight these misunderstandings and the eventual growth in empathy. Like you correctly mentioned that, Janki beyond 1995, her letters were more empathetic, were more compassionate, and, previously she had stopped writing Your Beti as well, to go in a very nuanced manner. She had stopped writing Your Beti and Lovingly or whatever. She used to just, use cuss words and curse her mother and, straight away. Probably she had not sent those letters, but yes, they were there in the reserve. They were there in the
Yeah.
reservoir. But yes, later on, I also saw that, she was quite indifferent about, her being raised without a motherly love and her being, complacent with the situation and non-complaining sorts. So, yes, over to you.
So I think it has to do with the character arcs, because as an author I had in mind that I had to start this character from this point. So this child of 8 years old, where she's not getting a mother's love. So how will she react? And because it's a timeline based journey, so we have 90. So every decade is like sort of clubbed into 6 or 7 letters. So every year, every other year is like that letter. Now, what is
Yeah.
happening to a 10-year-old? What is happening to a 13-year-old? What is happening to this child if she's sent to her grandparents, maternal grandparents and paternal grandparents, and then she's sent back again to her mother, who is a drug addict herself. So what's happening at this level? So first of all, what is happening around the characters is influencing
Hmm.
the character at that time. What what emotions she's carrying from other people, like her father, who is not talking to her at certain point, then from her mother, and then her own individual character arc, that okay, she is abandoned, she is angry, she is accepting, she is reconciling. So that's how the character arc is built, and this is where all these supplementary things sort of lines up to build that character arc. And these character arcs are not only for Janki,
Wonderful.
they are for Shakuntala as well, they are for Meera as well, because Meera also goes and talks to her father, talks to her aunt, her talks to other aunts. So she's also sort of evolving. So when Sujit says
Mhm.
in between that I can see the difference between, so she had a lot of anger, resentment towards her mother, but the end of it,
Yes.
even though she has not fully embraced her mother, but she probably now understands a little bit more about her journey. So
Hmm.
these are all individual character arcs, why influencing other people character arcs as well. So that's how sort of it becomes like a entwined stories.
Hmm. Quite interesting. I would definitely love to understand more about character arcs, but maybe next time.
Yeah.
So, as we continue to unravel the layers of the characters and their journeys, their respective journeys, how do you hope your readers will apply the empathy and the kind of understanding that they will gain from your book, into their own lives on the application of empathy?
I think there are a lot of themes. First is judgment. Second is karma, impact of karma and decisions. Third is parental wounds. Fourth is acceptance. Uh, Fifth is these interpersonal relationship within a family, interpersonal dynamics within the family. So, so when a reader reads, like, so when you have written a book, it's not yours anymore. It's the reader's book. Now, what takeaway you take from the book will be completely different to a takeaway which someone else takes from the book. Someone will only think about parental wounds. Someone will only think about reconciliation and acceptance. I mean, I have a reader come to me and said that this book helped them reconnect with their mother. Like for example, well, they were not estranged as such, but they had little conflicts. So they sort of this book sort of helped. One of the readers said that I saw my mother in a different light after the book, because I thought that she's a human as well, because I was thinking that she's just my mother. So
Yes.
when people come with certain these type of comments, then that actually is good, because then your message, whatever you are conveying, whatever themes you have put, because whenever you are writing a story, it's not a story. You have to layer it, even though readers are not seeing those layers. Uh, for example, in Letters to My Mother, so there's one family dynamics layer, then one emotional estrangement layer, then one this real events which are happening in 71, 62 Anand movie,
Yeah,
9/11. So all these real events are happening. So these are all layered stories. So the readers can pick
absolutely.
up any layer. They can pick up any layer. So people have come and said that you have woven the real life incidents very effectively.
Mm.
So as I said, to each to its own. Like whoever is reading, they will take their own takeaway. But I have built this in these certain layers of stories and emotions and narratives.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. In fact, you have very effectively and, very wonderfully, added these real life scenarios, which again, create a lot of impact and create a lot of trigger in terms of our emotions, in terms of our, thinking, in terms of the narrative, being changed. So, Janki got the power, and, there was some Khalistani attacks happening in Punjab. So, you have mentioned that. So, it just basically showcases that how aware you are about, other situationships which are happening, the other current affairs or the political affairs which are happening, at the same time. And it was not just about the relationship building, it was not just about the family drama, but it also touched base upon other important topics at the same time. But one very important thing to note was the fact that you said that one of the readers really, appreciated your work because of how they could reconnect with their mother, because they then saw them as a human being and not just as a mother. Is so good. It's so heartwarming to hear, because we as a society would probably just put a woman on a pedestal and worship her, and we would definitely do that on different occasions, but not in real life, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
real life, she is nothing but a doormat, and she is given a doormat behavior on more than one occasion, right?
yeah.
So, what is that? And being a mother is definitely the most challenging task that you are ever been, assigned to. You are not a mother in, you don't become a mother. I think you grow as a mother. You don't just become a mother in one night. I think it took me so many nights to actually become a mother that I'm still becoming. So, and the same thing goes with all these working mothers who are still, trying to strike a balance between their work, between their passion, their ambitions, and their fulfilling their dreams, while, creating that kind of, a pace and that kind of peace, that kind of symphony in their homes. So, what do you really have to say about, the working mothers? What message would you like to give to them who are probably, trapped in mom guilt, who are probably too stressed out, and they're so fearful that they won't be able to give that kind of love, that kind of affection. They won't be able to have that kind of relationship that they really strive to with their offsprings, with their kids, with their babies. And yeah, so any message that you would like to
So
give to them?
I actually feel quite strongly about this, and I think that women think, and society wants women to behave in a certain manner, but I think the fault actually lies with the women itself. The fault lies with the mother itself, because they think that they have to behave in a certain way. They think that they have to take care of the house, they have to take care of the husband, they have to take care of the kid, they have to take care of the career, um, and they don't seek out. So they don't seek, in my personal experience, they don't seek out help. They don't seek out help. They take on too much on their plate, too much on their plate. I Not multitasking properly. So I guess what I'm saying is, society puts women in a certain frame, but women themselves put themselves into a certain place, because they take responsibility of in-laws, parents, husband, kid, career, house, servants, you name it. I mean, uh, I don't know, maybe I have seen women around me who is taking more than is required, to be honest. But I think it should be a, if anyone is struggling, right, if any women or a man in fact is struggling in their responsibilities, they should just think that, okay, take a step back and think, do I really need to do this? Do I really need to call my in-laws every week, because I have to sort of juggle so many things? Or do I have to really work this overtime? Do I really have to take care of the child 1 more hour a day? I mean, these are just simple questions. If you can't do it, you can't do it. That's it. Men are very I don't know, practical in this way. If I can't do it anything, I just clearly say I can't do it. I can't work beyond this. That's it. But women, they take themselves because they think that society will expect them to take more. So they take more and then they suffer.
I have a very rhetorical question to this. Isn't that what parental boon is all about?
Exactly,
Isn't that
exactly.
isn't that what women as a girl
Our
child actually
condition.
saw
Yeah,
and
yeah.
grew up with?
Exactly. My in my family, my mother told me that his father, like my grandfather, would say that, okay, you have to behave in a certain way when you go to in-laws. You will go, but only your arthi will come in our house. you know
Yes,
you know things things like that. Though of course
yes,
this is like a 2-3 generations ago, and
you know,
we can understand how life was in 70s and 80s.
of
But that conditioning, even though it is diluted, it is still there. People expect women to do more uh, in these household things, and then now problem is women are working as well. So what will they do? They'll do household and working. So that's the problem.
Yes, that's true. There's a lot of burden on our shoulders for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't know
And I
what
think
to
it's
do
your
actually.
it's your fault because you take that burden. You should not take that burden.
Yeah, we should just chill, Netflix and chill, that's for sure.
No, I think
While the husbands would
see,
probably be taking care of the baby and taking care of the
yeah,
household.
yeah. I think there has to be a balance between what you can take and what you can deliver with a quality. So I think that's what my main thinking is
Yeah.
on this.
Maybe you can write something on this theme and we can have a more provocative conversation on this in our next podcast. How about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be more than happy
Lovely.
to discuss this in detail.
Thank you for being such a sport, Vikas. Just the last question for you. Authors generally have a favorite line or a quote or a scenario from their books. Is there any such line or a passage that you would like to share with our listeners today? Over to you.
So before, as I said, no, I create a boundary and then I work on the canvas. So before even I started writing this book, the line which says, "Dear Ma, I don't know if I can forgive you." So was a
Yes.
line. That was a line which Meera writes towards the end when she is writing a letter to her mother, which she leaves at the Twin
Yes.
Tower site, now a memorial. So that is a line where it all started.
Wow. That was really beautiful. Such a sweet message. It was very short and sweet. Thank you so much for your time, Vikas. I think we definitely did have a great and a wonderful conversation around all things books, parental boons, about the real life
Society.
scenarios, working mothers, the next book theme that I have given you. So yes, it was quite an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for
Thank you. Thank you for
getting in
your
touch.
time.
Yes, thank
Thank you. Thank you
you
so
for your
much. I
time
really enjoyed
as
the
well.
discussion. Thank you so much.
We had the pleasure and the honor of having you on our episode and of
Pleasure is all.
having your nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much. Stay tuned with us and yes, let's connect next time on
Yes.
our next episode. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.